Since today is Valentine's Day, I thought I'd talk about a romantic comedy that ever since I saw it back when I was in 8th grade, and yeah, it's been that long, I've had very fond memories of it ever since then. And now, let's talk about it. So 10 Things I Hate About You is a romantic comedy that came out back in 1999, and good God, I feel like a freaking old man saying that year, holy crap. 10 Things I Hate About You is a modernization of the comedy, The Taming of the Shrew. 10 Things I Hate About You stars an ensemble and a great cast that includes Joseph Gordon-Levitt, the late great Heath Ledger, Julia Stiles, Larissa Olnek, David Krumholtz, and many more great actors in this film. We primarily follow a new student named Cameron, played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who enters this brand new high school, and he meets a friend named Michael, played by David Krumholtz. And instead of giving him a very generic tour of the school, he instead gives him a tour and introduces him to every single high school stereotype there is to think of. And while on tour, he is immediately smitten by a student named Bianca, played by Larissa Olnek, who he really wants to date. He is told by Michael that no, there is no way he can do that because, let's just be real, she is way out of your league, don't even think about it, just store your memory and just leave it be. Until he is told that Bianca could date only if her sister named Kat, played by Julia Stiles, dates at the same time. At that point, Michael and Cameron are trying to do everything in their power to find a date for Kat so that Cameron can go out with Bianca. When they think they have exhausted all the options possible, they finally meet Patrick, played by Heath Ledger, who seems to be the perfect fit for Kat. Alrighty guys, so let's get into 10 Things I Hate About You.
Excellent!
The first time I saw this film was back when I was in 8th grade, and I think I was, probably 15 years old? Jesus, God. Stop making yourself feel old, Austin. We went on a trip to North Carolina, if I remember correctly, and around that time, I started to slowly get along with my peers, and as you guys can imagine, I don't know if you did this back in the 90s or the early 2000s, or in my case, the late 2000s, I should say. Basically, anytime we took a trip, we always brought some movies with us to entertain us. And since this was a long drive, like I said, to North Carolina, this was a long trip. And I mean, it was a long freaking trip. I think on this trip, there were about 4 movies that we saw, if I remember correctly. Don't quote me on that, but there may have been more. I don't remember the entire trip. 2 movies I remember very fondly: The Sandlot, and then 10 Things I Hate About You. Ever since I saw 10 Things I Hate About You back on that trip, the movie has stayed in my memory ever since then, and of course, since I have said that I've rewatched it every now and again. As a matter of fact, before I started filming this review, I saw the film like twice. Performances-wise, everybody does a really good, if not a great job here. From Joseph Gordon-Levitt, the late great Heath Ledger, Julia Stiles, Larissa Olnek, I almost forgot his name, David Krumholtz, I am so sorry. Larry Herb, let me double check on that one more time. Son of a gun. It's Larry Miller. Larry, I am so sorry. Also, Andrew Keegan, seriously, these guys in particular are great in this movie. I've always been a big fan of Joseph Gordon-Levitt, but one of the things that I absolutely love about his character is, in particular, the contrast that he has with Patrick, played by Heath Ledger. One of the things that I absolutely love about Joseph Gordon-Levitt in this film is this. Yes, he's a very innocent character, he's also very pure, but at the same time, he is not afraid to call out somebody's BS or their insecurities when they have done him wrong. One of my favorite scenes in the entire film, and I think this is around the 45-50 minute mark, and it's after one of those cliche high school parties that's in pretty much every high school comedy, romantic comedy from the 1990s, but it's a very well done scene nonetheless. Cameron is hurt because he finds out that Bianca never wanted him the whole time, only wanted the rich kid, the hot babe, the hot rod, named Joey, played by Andrew Keegan. Bianca asks him for a ride home after she sees that Joey is just, self-absorbed. When Cameron drives her home, he basically goes like to her, "You didn't really want to go sailing, did you?" And then she goes like, yeah. And he said, "No, you didn't." When she finally admits it, he just brings it on to her. I love the way that Cameron calls her out on her BS. Then Bianca just gives him that look of, "I like this kid." Plants that kiss on him when she walks away. I love the reaction that he has so much. Going from a person that thought he lost her, thought he lost everything, but the moment she kissed him, as he says,
and back in the game.
Speaking of Bianca, Larissa Olnick is Bianca. Now, at first, you may not be able to stand Bianca, which I completely understand because at first she seems very absorbed, very self-centered on herself, and just wants the popularity, to which at first is the case. After that sequence in the car, she finally sees that, hey, I'm a much better person than people think I am. It shows in that one sequence where she finally sees that Joey, like I mentioned before, is a douche. One performance in particular that I don't think it's nearly enough credit is David Krumholtz as Michael. Michael is absolutely hilarious in this movie, and one of my favorite punchlines that he has in this movie is after Joey draws that dick on his face, he just says, so nonchalantly as well, he just says, I have a dick on my face, don't I? David Krumholtz in this movie is very entertaining. He has this wit to him that I absolutely love, and he has a couple of scenes that made me laugh so freaking hard. One particular person that I have to talk about is Larry Miller, who plays the father of Kat and Bianca. Every single scene that he is in, he steals. And his expressions sometimes are the funniest freaking thing about this movie. And one of my favorite scenes in this movie is near the end when Joey thinks he's about to pick up Bianca for the prom, but when he walks up to that door trying to get to Bianca, and the look that he gives him, and he slams that door in his face, I crack up so much watching that sequence. He's overprotective, yes. He's kind of annoying, but at the same time, he only has the best intentions for his daughters. Andrew Keegan in this movie, he's entertaining as all hell. He does such a great job of playing the douchebag in this movie, and he looks like he's having a fun time in this movie. Best performances of this movie, and the ones who pretty much steal every single scene minus Larry Miller, are Julia Stiles and the late great Heath Ledger as Patrick and Kat. Heath Ledger in this movie has such a great screen presence in this movie. I mean, yes, he comes off as the bad boy, the badass, the ruthless guy that everyone's afraid of. But what I love about Heath Ledger in this movie is this. After you've gotten to know him for quite some time, he's actually a really charming guy and a very sweet guy that actually cares about the people that are around him, that when he gets to know them, he's a very enduring guy to be around. And not to mention as well, the chemistry that he has with Julia Stiles is just absolutely amazing. One of my favorite sequences in this entire film that involves him and Julia Stiles, to which, don't worry, I'll get into her later. Julia Stiles thinks that he's stalking her, and Joey comes in parking like a complete asshole. Joey walks into a guitar store where Kat trains, or she basically dreams of being a rock star, to which, hey, rock on, girl. I think the scene where Patrick starts to really dig Kat is where Kat was like, you know what? This guy, and just slams right into the back of his car, and then Patrick just laughs, going like, you deserve it, dude. Speaking of Kat, Julia Stiles in this film, I love Julia Stiles in this movie. Like with Patrick, Kat is a girl that at first seems like a very scary person, whereas the guidance counselor says, well, is a heinous bitch. But the thing is this, like with Patrick, Kat at first comes off as a girl that would probably scare everybody if you try to get near her. However, spend time with her, like with Patrick, and Kat turns out to be a real sweetheart. She has so many great sequences, in particular the sequence right near the end with the poem, which, God, it got me emotional. I watched the film twice in preparation for this review, and just hearing her spout out that poem that she wrote, it's an emotional scene. It's a great scene. Julia Stiles does such a great job of portraying the badassery, but at the same time, the compassion that Kat has, the hatred that she has for Joey, but the compassion that she has for her sister Bianca, knowing that she doesn't want her to make the same mistakes that she had because of, well, again, I won't spoil it, but it's a great sequence. 10 Things I Hate About You came out in the late 90s after all the highest romantic comedies that have already come out. And do not get me wrong, guys. 10 Things I Hate About You is full of every trope and every cliche that you can think of from the romantic comedies of the late 90s, or just the 90s in general. What makes this film work so well, despite all those tropes and cliches, is the film's well-written script and the performances. The movie, like I mentioned earlier, is a modernization, well, not really modernization, because obviously we're not in the late 90s anymore, we're in the 2020s, which blows my freaking mind because time has passed by so quick. The film was an at the time, I should say, it was a modernization of Taming of the Shrew. What I like about this film script is how it pokes fun at that play, or how it pokes at that play. The script, it's clever, it's witty, it's entertaining, it's charming, it has heart. There are even some pretty heartbreaking moments in there as well. Also, something else I want to talk about as well is the film's directing. One of the other reasons why this movie works so well is because the directing by Gil Junger, I believe that's how you pronounce his name. Gil Junger, I thought, did a great job of bringing what was at the time being a modernization of that play to the late 90s. And I thought that Gil Junger did a great job of bringing it all together in this really just entertaining movie that happens to have some great comedy, a lot of entertainment value, some great lessons. Now, speaking of lessons, I do want to talk about this one particular thing, and one of my favorite moments in the entire film, and I know I'm going to spoil it for you guys, but I have to because I love this moment in this movie so much. But essentially, it's after Cameron's gotten his heart broken by Bianca, and he doesn't feel at the time that she's worth it. Kat has suffered what could be a concussion, and Patrick is looking after her. And then Cameron says to Patrick, dude, it's off. She never wanted me in the first place. She wanted the douchebag. Patrick puts him to the side and he says this, Cameron, do you like the girl? Yes. Is she worth all this trouble? And then Cameron says, well, I don't know. And then Patrick says this, no, it's either she is or she isn't. First of all, now, pretty sure I'm paraphrasing, so please, I apologize if I got this wrong or if I muffed it up. She either is or she isn't. And also, here's the thing as well. Joey is not half the man you are. Never feel like that someone tells you that you're not worthy of someone that you want or someone who you like. Go for it. I love that pep talk so much, this movie, and it's one of those moments where I was like, you know what, Cameron, if you have another chance, go for it. Even after the onslaught of romantic comedies in the 1990s, somehow, with all the tropes and all the cliches that this movie has going against it, somehow it's able to stand against everything for a really well-made movie. And once again, that is because of the great performances, the clever script, and the really good directing. Even after 20 years after its release, it holds up, it makes me smile, and I still laugh. And at times, I do get kind of emotional, but no, really, it's a well-done movie.
Well, that's just fucking great!
I really do think that 10 Things I Hate About You is a film that's held up for the past 20 years that's been out. At the same time, though, do I have issues with the film? I do, yes. What the film has going against it is every trope and every cliche that you can think of. I mean, the high school party, the prom sequence, the guy that falls in love with the popular girl who doesn't like him at first, but then she does. The sequence where she finds out that she's not really into the guy that she was really into at first and goes after the guy that's actually into her. Every single trope that you can think of is in this movie, and every cliche that you can think of is this movie. But like I mentioned before, it makes it work. The film's guidance counselor, I can't remember who plays her, I'll put her name right there. She's maybe in like, what, 2 scenes? Maybe 3 scenes at the very most? I felt that she had no purpose in the film whatsoever other than just to have some comedic relief, which really didn't work at all for me at all.
And here we go.
So overall, 10 Things I Hate About You, I don't think it's one of the greatest romantic comedies of all time, but at the same time, I do think it is still a very well done film, a very good one. In fact, almost great. It's been 20 years since this film has come out, and I do think it has held well over time since its 1999 release date. All in all, guys, I'm gonna give 10 Things I Hate About You a 3.75 out of 5 stars. While I don't think that 10 Things I Hate About You is a great film, nor it being one of the greatest romantic comedies of all time, at the same time, though, I do think it's a very good film, especially to watch on Valentine's Day. And if you haven't seen it, or if you're looking for just a really good romantic comedy from the 1990s, give this film a watch. So comment down below and let me know. Have you guys seen 10 Things I Hate About You? What did you all think of it? Did you like the film or did you even hate it? Let me know below. If you guys want to follow me on social media, I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. I'm also on Snapchat, so if y'all want to follow me on all those social media platforms, all the links and the usernames in the description below. I hope you all enjoyed my review of 10 Things I Hate About You. If so, please hit that like button, also subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell for my latest review goes live. If you guys want to see any of my previous 2 reviews, please click the right there or right there. And of course, until my next review goes live, I will see you all next time.